Step back. You don't belong in the well of this courtroom. The deputy's bark sliced through the heavy air as Marcus Bell paused mid-step, clutching a leather folder that looked worn but dignified. He glanced up calmly, not blinking, not budging. Judge Harold Kingsley didn't wait for an explanation. With a smirk curling under his powdered wig, he pointed the gavel at Marcus like it was a weapon. "I said out, unless you want to be held in contempt." Murmurs rose in the gallery. A woman in pearls whispered, "Is he the new janitor?" Another laughed. Marcus opened his mouth, but before he could speak, the gavel came down. Not on the bench. On his head. A sickening crack. Papers flew. Marcus stumbled back, a line of blood carving through his temple. And for 5 long seconds, no one moved. But Linda Patel, the clerk seated to the left, didn't look away. Her eyes widened. Not in horror. In recognition. She had seen that face before. On a document sealed by the Chief Justice himself. The room froze. But the gavel kept rolling. And the blood on that courtroom floor carried a name no one expected. The courthouse buzzed, judges, attorneys, interns, all talking about the incident. Marcus hadn't pressed charges. He hadn't said a word. But he showed up again. 2 days later. Quietly. With a bandage over his temple and that same leather folder. Security hesitated at the front gate. "You again," one muttered. "You sure you belong here this time?" Marcus didn't respond. He handed them a visitor badge, one bearing the gold seal of the Federal Judiciary Committee. Inside, Linda watched him from afar, fingers trembling over her keyboard. A flash of memory hit her, that same signature on the wall in D.C. She realized why his face looked familiar. He was one of the architects of the Ethics Review Board. But no one else seemed to notice. Not the bailiff who refused him a seat. Not the lawyers who passed him by like he was invisible. Not even Judge Kingsley, who now sat at the bench as if nothing had happened. Until Marcus dropped a sealed envelope on the clerk's desk. Stamped, "Request for Emergency Judicial Review." Linda stood up, slowly, shaking, but didn't hand the envelope forward yet. Courtroom 3B was packed. Cameras weren't allowed, but phones were out, silent, sneaky, recording. Judge Kingsley didn't recognize the name on the docket, Judicial Ethics Hearing, Bell vs. Kingsley. Until Marcus stepped forward. No robe. No title. Just that quiet gaze. He placed a new document on the bench. Linda, now standing beside him, handed over a photograph, a young black girl in a school uniform, and a signature on her court sentence. Kingsley's signature. "She was my daughter," Marcus said softly. "Convicted at 15. For a mistake your court turned into a life sentence. She died in custody last year." The courtroom stopped breathing. Kingsley's hand trembled on the gavel. "That wasn't. I didn't know." Marcus didn't blink. "You didn't care to." He reached into his jacket and pulled out a second folder, this one signed by the Chief Justice. "Effective immediately," he said, reading aloud, "Harold Kingsley is suspended pending full review." Then, with deliberate slowness, he stepped forward. Placed the gavel, the same gavel, on the desk in front of Kingsley. "I'm not here to retaliate," Marcus said, steady as stone. "I'm here to remind this courtroom what justice is supposed to look like." And walked away. No one moved. But Kingsley's hand never touched the gavel again. Outside the courtroom, reporters swarmed. But Marcus didn't stop. He walked straight through them, not uttering a word. Linda followed behind, clutching the empty gavel box. Inside, Kingsley remained seated, pale, surrounded by stunned silence. No applause. No gavel. No defense. 3 days later, the Judicial Oversight Committee released a formal apology. But Marcus declined interviews. He didn't want revenge. He wanted reform. The gavel, the one that struck his skull, was sent to a museum exhibit titled, Symbols of Misused Power. Meanwhile, a quiet bill circulated through the state legislature. Written by Marcus. It was named, the Alyssa Bell Act. At the museum opening, a child stood before the glass case, reading the plaque beneath the gavel. Years passed. Linda Patel stood behind a courtroom podium, this time as a judge herself. She kept the original envelope Marcus had handed her, framed above her desk. On her first day in office, she told the gallery. Justice isn't about who holds the gavel. It's about who dares to stand when the system tells them to kneel. In the front row, Marcus sat quietly. No badge. No folder. Just watching. As she adjourned the session, he rose, nodded once, and walked out, leaving behind only a small card on her bench. It read, "Keep the gavel where it belongs." Linda turned it over, on the back, a faded photo of Alyssa smiling in her school uniform. Sometimes the loudest changes begin in silence. Marcus Bell never shouted, never sought applause, yet every step he took rewrote the rules of a system that had once broken his daughter. His story isn't just about justice delivered, it's about justice remembered, and passed on. If this story moved you, share your thoughts below. And if you believe in stories that speak when others stay quiet, subscribe to stay with us.